Hey guys, welcome back to Zethythonix channel. Today we are back with another H.L.M.S episode again. This episode is one of my favorite non-Gundam MS in the UZ timeline, Power Rider. The Missing Link story contained two versions, game and manga. I only found 15 chapters of the manga version, so there might be missing information. Also, the manga didn't change the Power Rider settings, so unless it's important, I won't mention the manga version. Alright, turn on your CC sub, grab some snacks and enjoy the video. After Earth Federation realized how important MS are to battle situations, the RX plan was proposed and a total of 8 variations were developed. Unit 1 to 3 was sent to Psi 7 for further testing. Unit 4 to 6 stayed at Jarbro headquarters. Unit 7 was being continually developed in Augusta base, and Unit 8 was never mentioned in any materials. Following the success of Operation V, the Freddies started the mass production plan, which was the RX-79 series. The Federation land force was in an emergency situation, which was why they used their authorities and detained the extra RX-78 parts, using those parts to create the RX-79G Gundam ground type. After hearing this information, the Space Force was upset by this fact. The department used an excuse, which was Zeon will deploy new MS that might change the battle situation around and extend the war. The headquarters agreed with this reason and allowed the Space Force to start the Project Power Rider. The Project Power Rider developed a total of 4 units, which were all named after the 4 horsemen of Apocalypse. RX-80 WR White Rider, which was developed to test Shekinah, also representing Conquer. RX-80 RR Red Rider, which was developed to test Ares system, also representing War. RX-80 BR Black Rider, which never got its information, also representing Plague. And lastly, RX-80 PR Power Rider, which was developed to test Hades, also representing Death. Using the Gym Sniper 2 as the base, adding the latest technologies during 1 Year War, and Power Rider was born. The Space Force asked the developers to create a MS that is more powerful than standard gyms and using the RX-78 parts to make it, which was why it chose the same material just like the RX-78 series, Lunar Titanium. As for the concept plan, the Space Force used the Gundam G04 and G05 as reference, changing a few parts from the G05 designs and made the Power Rider able to switch a few parts to fit different battlefields, which made the Power Rider become versatile in order to make the Power Rider's performance comparable to the RX-78 series. The developers kept the Gundam's head, which means the Power Rider still got advanced sensors and calculator units. But the Space Force wanted this MS to look like an MP-type MS, so they added another visor piece to cover the Gundam eyes. They also removed the V-fin and replaced it with a single antenna on the top of the head. The antenna's position was designed like Zeon Commander MS, making it look like a knight or swordsman. Since it used the Gundam G05 as the concept base, in order to further improve the land combat performance, the developers added the leg thrusters from Gym Sniper 2 and hover units from Gundam G06. The Power Rider can switch a few parts to adapt different battlefields. I believe most of you know that it got space and ground type. So let's introduce both types in details. Both types can be easily spotted. The shoulders, antenna direction, and backpack are different. As for the weapons, both versions shared Falcon gun on the head, beam saber on the side skirts, and hand beam gun on the forearms. For the ground type, it can choose HFW GMGM G79 90mm bullpup machine gun, YHI YFMG 100mm machine gun, spike shield, 180mm cannon from Gundam ground type, and Lake missile pods. For space types, the Power Rider can equip the same shield and hyper beam rifle from Gundam G04 and 5, and the giant Gatling gun from Gundam G05. The space type can also choose a booster pack to equip and extend its operation time. The key of the Power Rider is Hades, full form as Hyper Animosity Detect Estimate System. Hades is developed based on H.L.M.S system samples and data. And of course, Augusta Laboratory obtained the information by upper management pressuring. The Hades is in the head unit, which means if the head is damaged, Hades will be dead too. Different than H.L.M.S system, Hades won't mimic new type powers, but it will forcibly disable all limiters to draw out 100% power of the MS, and the learning computer will pre-read the pilot's thoughts through sensing the psychoimmune waves and forcibly evade or attack. During the activation, the visor will turn red just like Blue Destiny units. All the exhaust vents will glow due to the forceful venting of gases. However, Hades will also bring a lot of G-force onto the pilot's body. To withstand the G-force and complicate the system, the pilot will need to go through several surgeries, inhuman trainings and enhancement drugs, as well as special trainings to wipe out unnecessary thoughts and strengthen the mind, and physical modifications to resist the G-force and fight for a longer time. However, all of these modifications and Hades' side effects will cause the pilot to have mental issues, unstable emotions, and memory impairment. This explains why the pilot of Power Rider, Chloe Crocher, never remembered what she did in the battle after she got off from the Power Rider. On battlefield, the pilot will attack no matter you are allies or enemies, similar to H.L.M.S system's side effect. EFSF planned to mass-produce the Power Rider during the early stage of Project Power Rider. However, the Power Rider is a high-performance and versatile MS, and it got lunar titanium as its armor material, which resulted the mass-produced plan was cancelled due to expensive cost and piloting difficulties. So only 4 of them were produced, and they were all secretly transferred to Grave, an officer on the Rebel faction. The Power Rider was assigned to Chloe Crocher, a war orphan found by Grave, and took her into Augusta Institute. The Power Rider deployed for 3 times. The first time was ordered by Grave to wipe out both Machosia's and Slave Wraith team, but Power Rider was defeated by Slave Wraith and retreated. The second time was against the Slave Wraith again. They didn't fight much as Slave Wraith used mines and attempted to destroy the Power Rider, but Power Rider still lived. The last mission was fighting the Machosia's team. It was a tough fight, but the whole team successfully grabbed the Power Rider's limbs and stopped its movement. Vincent Geisler later used his Gelagugu's twin beam sword and stabbed it into Power Rider's chest. The Power Rider was down and later captured by Zeon remnants. Chloe lost all her memory, and Vincent took her in and taken care of her for the following years. Before developing the Power Rider, one of the prototypes, Red Rider, was developed. After the H.L.M.S system success, Grave used his authority and pressured Professor Moses to provide H.L.M.S system data. After he took it back to Augusta Institute, the developers created Ares system, which is the predecessor of Hades. Red Rider was chosen to be the test unit that carries Ares system. Let me explain what's Ares system. Ares system is similar to Hades, but instead of running without a certain timer, Ares system can only activate 5 minutes if the pilot was injured or detected to have a certain physical, mental impair. The system will prevent the pilot to die and only allow you to use Ares system for 60 seconds before the MS shut down. During Ares system, the data analysis, fighting abilities, and reaction time will be greatly increased. However, if you switch the limiter off and let it run over 5 minutes, it will potentially blow up. But just like Hades, to endure the amount of G-force and piloting difficulties, it will require a person who got special training and using drugs to enhance their mind and body. Grave wanted to get the best results, so he told Augusta Institute to use a bunch of war orphans, and he ordered the lab to do some pretty terrifying inhuman experiments on them. To Grave, the pilots on Red Rider were just expendable items. Seriously, I hate this Grave dude so much after I read the Power Rider history. Different than other 3 units, Red Rider was using a different set of armor. It's called wearable armor. This is the same set of armor on Jim Striker. The armor will protect the suit when it charges to the enemy. After it was damaged, it can be purged to reduce weight. For the weapons, the Red Rider got Falcon Gun on the head, Beam Saber on the side skirts, YHI-YF MG100 100mm machine gun, Spike Shield from Jim Striker, HWF GMG MG79 90mm bullpup machine gun, a machine gun plus double beam blade from Zeon's technology. The double beam blade could also use as a launching weapon too, and the heavy double sword is a shield with 2 beam blades on the side. Each blade can extend and form an X scythe beam. Once the handle extends from the back of the shield, both beam blades will be at maximum output and form a big sword. It's capable of slicing the enemy in half easily. The Red Rider was assigned to Aggressor, a team of Zeon soldiers who defected to Earth Federation. The Red Rider was mainly piloted by Chase Skullguard. The first 2 missions were fighting against the Zeon ground troops. Chase successfully forced Captain Dagger's team to retreat. When Captain Dagger attacked the village, Red Rider showed up and had a long fight with the Goof. Chase used the double beam bayonet and destroyed the Goof. Later, Chase used the Aerie system to destroy a dome and force the other dome to retreat. The next mission was saving the 04 and 5 team. After a long fight, Chase bought the team 10 minutes to regroup, and in the meantime he destroyed a Gog. Chase was trying to explain what truly happened, but his old teammates didn't listen, so he completely disabled a Gog and wrecked half of the captain's Zgok. But after this battle, the Red Rider's left arm and cockpit hatch were gone. After Red Rider was repaired and upgraded in Jabro, a squad led by Diane Noyce, which was the person who set up Chase as Sergeant Highway, made them look like traitors. She attacked Jabro and Chase was getting beat up by Diane, but he slowed down and used the cooling device to create smoke and lured Diane to the river's surface. He managed to disable her Dom's hover units and drag her into the river. He sliced Diane's suit into half, but Diane was alive. Later, Chase's previous Zeon team came back and wanted to end it once for all. Chase got out of the kill zone and chopped down 2 Zgoks. It's ironic that he had to kill his friend as well as an enemy. Chase fought against his previous captain. He used the Aerie system and the system was forcibly shut down after 60 seconds, which resulted a draw. Captain wanted to overheat the reactor and blow Jabro up, but Sergeant Highway pushed the Sogok into the river with a gun tank and both Chase's mentors were dead. After Chase spent some time to grieve, he went to space and met Diane again. They fought each other, but the chapters ends here and the manga was never updated. The following development history is rewritten in manga version. In the manga, the mass production Power Rider plan was cancelled, but there were some prototypes created for MP testing purpose. The first attempt is the Power Rider Cavalry, since this is the culmination of the project, which was why it's named Cavalry. To cut the cost and create a more stable control for the pilot, a lot of parts were removed and the equipment was redesigned. The Falcon guns were kept on the head, the beam sabers moved to the backpack and able to generate beam javelin too. The G04-G05 shield was kept, and just like Power Rider Space type, it could equip a booster pack to extend the operation time. The developers redesigned the weapon concept and created the Shikina. It's a composite weapon containing 3 weapons, a giant Gatling gun at the bottom, mega beam launcher at the middle, and micro missile launcher at the top. This weapon is versatile and not too heavy, which allowed the Power Rider Cavalry to engage enemies in any range. In order to make it suitable for normal pilots to pilot, there's a limit on Hades. Instead of forcibly attack or evade, Hades will only activate as the trump card or during emergency situations. So, it will no longer take control of the MS but rather let the pilot choose to use it or not. Despite it sound like a lot of features were changed or reduced, but the standard performance was just as good as the original Power Rider. It wasn't sure how many Power Rider Cavalry was made, but one of them was stored on an Antietam class carrier. It was supposed to transfer on Graves' ship, Foristo. Halfway of his delivery, Slave Wraith came and stole the Power Rider Cavalry. The captain of the Slave Wraith, Travis Crickland, learned about Hades, Grave drugging war orphans to test the Project Power Rider units, and other inhuman experiment records while he was on the carrier. After he read everything, he was disgusted by Grave's plans and deleted the information about Hades. The Slave Wraith launched again and Travis was hunting down Grave near Solomon. Before his last shot to Grave's ship, the Big Sam's beam was approaching and Hades activated because it sensed danger. The sudden G-force was too much and Travis fainted in the cockpit. Later, they located Grave's location again and decided to end it once for all. But Travis' son, Vincent, was in a tough fight with Power Rider and Slave Wraith, asked Travis to save his son first. Travis arrived and supporting the Machosius team, but I can't find the next chapter, so I don't know what happened. Somewhere around the near end of 1 Year War, Earth Federation found the last Power Rider. It was a cavalry type that was abandoned halfway of its construction. Although Earth Federation successfully recovered the body structure, but the black box that contains Hades was damaged and unable to be fixed. Since most information was deleted by Grave and partly deleted by Travis, Hades didn't install into this Power Rider because it didn't have Hades. The Federation named it as Rider Dullahan, meaning this MS is a headless horseman. A lot of Rider Cavalry's features were lost, so the Federation just grabbed weapons from other MS lines to fit onto the Dullahan. Despite it sounds like hastily developed, but its performance was as good as the Cavalry. For the weapons, 60mm Falcon gun on the head, beam sabers on the backpack, heat lance from G-Line Assault Armor, Guardian Shield from Jim Guard Custom, and Hyper Bazooka from RX-70X series. Unfortunately, I couldn't find more chapters and it's hard for me to fill the information in. So I will just say what I found. The Rider Dullahan deployed once after the 1-year war. It was sent to destroy the Rider captured by Zeon remnants. However, this was its first and last deployment. The Dullahan fought against the Rider VG. Vincent was in disadvantage, but he managed to overload Hades to create a self-detonation. The Dullahan was destroyed and Vincent got out before the detonation. In UC 84, Titans was just formed and they were looking for a new design to replace Jim Quill. Instead of using new concepts and spending more time to develop new ideas, Titans decided to use the designs in the past, improve the concepts and brought it back to the battlefield. There were two options created. AE offered the Hyzak, and Augusta Institute offered the Rider DII. The renovation was planned based on the Rider Dullahan, even though the actual Dullahan was wrecked a long time ago, but Rider itself was based on Jim Sniper 2 and Project G-Force unit, which means the parts were not hard to remanufacture and improve. For its appearance, the developers used the color scheme close to Jim Quill. Several improvements were made to allow the Rider DII to catch up to current technologies, such as linear cockpit seat, revamping sensors and avionics, strengthened thrusters and overall performance boost. Just like Rider, the V-fin was removed and there's another visor to cover the eyes. The most important change was that Hades was completely removed, meaning every pilot could control this MS. Even though the D2 was just a custom Dullahan, but its performance was already surpassed Jim Quill. The Rider D2's weapons include Falcon gun on the head, beam sabers on the backpack, hyper beam rifle and shield from Gundam G04, G05, and Shekinah from Cavalry. One Rider D2 was stationed on board the Alexandra-class heavy cruiser, Algiza, which was the Titan's 7th team along with 2 Jim Quill and 1 Jim Sniper 2. The 7th team deployed to intercept 3 suspicious MS from Axis, which were later members of Eugor. The 3 MS successfully badly damaged the 7th team. One of the Garibaldi Alva chopped off Rider D2's arms and disabled its weapons. And the Axis MS team delivered the Dowasu Custom to Granada, which was later the key of Rigdier's development. After the Titans heard this news, they chose the Hyzak as it got some promising results. Also, some versions said that Titans was very unhappy about the success development of Rigdier's and blamed all the responsibilities to the Rider D2's performance. Alright, snap ourselves back to the original Rider. What happened after its capture? There were 2 versions, so let's start with the manga. The captured Rider was called Rider VG. After the capture, Vincent used the Gelugugu parts and hastily fixed it. There were no parts changed on the body, the changes were mainly on the weapons. The 2 beam sabers were changed to twin beam swords from Gelugugu. The rifle and beam spot guns were from Gelugugu Jenga, a pair of 6-tube missile pods from Ifrit Custom and giant bazooka from Dom. It wasn't sure how many missions Vincent completed with his Rider, but as I said before, it was self-detonated when Vincent was fighting Rider Dullahan. Next, how about the game version? At the end of 1-year war, Zeon remnants were surprisingly captured the Rider. After its arrival, the technicians briefly examined it and studied it. Hades got top tier via war, which was why the technicians couldn't even break down the system for further studies. Since they couldn't modify or study about it, the Rider was transferred to Axis and sealed for 10 years. UC 0090, Char Aznable came back and led the newborn Neo Zeon. He decided to reorganize the army, but they don't have a lot of MS, which was why the Rider was broken from the seal. After 10 years, the technicians still unable to break down Hades due to its inevitable firewall. war. So they ignore the head and only work on the rest of the body. Through the changes, the Todesritter was born, meaning Death Knight in German. To fit the new generation battlefield needs, they changed all the body parts and added movable frame. The backpack was changed to a 3x2 thruster pattern, a total of 6 thrusters to ensure the high mobility. Just like the original, it could equip 2 additional fuel tanks on the backpack to extend the operation time. To increase the combat performance, there's 1 sub-arm in each shoulder. The developers cannot change Hades, but they can add things to increase its performance. Another heat radiator was added on the back of the head, which allow Hades to activate longer without overloads. Not only that, there's another blade antenna on the top of the head to increase communications, and a new camera on the back of the head to reduce blind spots. As for its weapons, other than falcon guns on the head, a pair of machine cannons were added on the chest. A pair of beam sabers were stored in the forearms instead of side skirts. To further increase close combat abilities, a pair of hyper beam saber were added on the backpack. They will emit a larger, more powerful blade. During range battles, they could be used as beam gun too. Normally, the sub-arms will hold the hyper beam saber and Todesritter holds 2 beam sabers, which means the enemy needs to deal with 4 beam sabers. For ranged weapons, a powerful hyper knuckle buster from Gazom, a shield with 5 mega particle guns from Bawu, and 6 incoms from Dothan Wolf. Each incom contained beam gun and tri-blade, which provided both beam and physical attack, making its attack unpredictable. But let's be honest, if you played the Missing Link game before, you know Chloe never used it properly. Vincent and Chloe went on to a mission together, which was wiping out the rest of Glammy faction. At the middle of the battle, one of the Machosius members, Anna Rose Rosenheim, appeared and targeting Chloe and Vincent. Anna Rose was blaming Chloe and Vincent for causing Albert, Bell, and the rest of Machosius members died during Arbawa coup. Anna Rose was in denial and refused to listen. Vincent and Chloe had no choice but to fight her. Travis came with Z2 and helped them both. In the end, the Queen Maza and Todesritter were both destroyed. The Project Power Rider was officially gone from the history. Thanks for watching this video. What do you think about the Power Rider family? Tell me more in the comments please. This is one of the tough videos to make because Power Rider don't have a lot of visual materials. And the manga is really hard to find, trust me. If you like my hard work and want to see more episodes, please subscribe and hit the bell next to it to support me. Follow my IG at Zethythonix, donation link is in the description, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.